So firstly, we will talk about the identification of event theme, the location to convey the wow factors. The first one will be Great Barrier Reef Festival, one of the largest party of the year for North Queensland. The event actually happens on the first weekend of August and over the 4 days. The festival has many different activities, being the concert, the food, fireworks, or even workshop to educate people about the Great Barrier Reef. The location is actually at Alley Beach, and the festival is a celebration of a combination of Whitsundays lifestyle as well as the communities. However, we would like to bring it over to Bushland Beach, Townsville, taking into account that how important this festival is to educate the visitors on the importance of Great Barrier Reef, and hence we are bringing that to Townsville to attract more visitors. Right. So secondly, we have Billabong Sanctuary. Billabong Sanctuary is actually an Australian native animal wildlife park where visitor is able to interact with wildlife animals, and the experience is very unique and fun. Some of the example will be hugging koala, feeding kangaroos, or even bird shows. So as you can tell, all these activities are close-up interaction with wild animals. The Billabong Sanctuary is actually located in 11 Country Road next to Bruce Highway, but it's actually quite far from Townsville main city, right? But it's not a concern because the interaction with the wild animal up close is definitely worth the visit, right? So we will now identify the key stakeholder. For Barrier Reef Festival and Billabong Sanctuary, their key stakeholders are actually quite similar. For Barrier Reef Festival and Billabong Sanctuary, their key stakeholders are Tourism Australia, government, Townsville City Council. These three government bodies will work together to ensure that the festival and Billabong Sanctuary are safe and they are attracting tourists and making sure that the exposure for the both festival and Billabong Sanctuary are maximized, right? So the other stakeholders are the employees and volunteers who work at the festival as well as Billabong Sanctuary, right? There are also local community and tourists who visit such places are also the stakeholders. Last but not least, we also have media which will broadcast about the festival as well as Billabong Sanctuary and spread the news about such destination and festival all over the world to attract more tourists, be it the domestic ones or the international ones, right? So for Barrier Reef Festival, it has a special stakeholder which is the sponsors, where they pour in money to ensure that the festival is being done and to expose people about the importance of Great Barrier Reef. Okay, so now we are moving on to identification of target market and forecast. So based on figure 1.1, which is international tourist arrival in Australia, we can see that the most number of visitors will be the China and New Zealand, right? Making them the main target market here because of them visiting Australia the most, right? The third will be we will be focusing on domestic tourists. Okay, so looking at figure 1.2, which is international tourist arrival by month, the first in ranking will be February, second will be March, and third will be August, right? So we are looking at February and March for Billabong Sanctuary and festival for August. Okay, so for Billabong we will advertise it from about December, and for festival we will be advertising it from June. So there's a 2 months period for the advertisement to go through to people and even to international tourists for them to come over and enjoy themselves, right? So for the festival we are looking at 7,000 visitors over the 4 days, right? And for Billabong we are looking at 5,000 visitors per week. So for the majority of the visitors, it will be from China and New Zealand, and third being the domestic tourists, right? So moving on to justification and evidence of how proposed concept meets criteria. So as we know, in order to allow visitor to stay longer, there must be a unique experience, right? Australia is actually a very beautiful country with many beautiful destinations, and is known for its natural assets, safe environment as well as quality services, right? And we know that the main target we are looking at is the China and New Zealand tourists. Okay, so for the festival, because the airfare in August is very cheap, so it's actually the best time to host the Great Barrier Reef Festival. Okay, the 4 days festival will give visitors more than enough time to enjoy the event and learn something great from the Great Barrier Reef. Okay, the annual festival locating at bushland where there's crowded activities, right? People go to the beach to suntan, to play with their family, right? Which this festival will attract their attention, and hence allowing them to attend the festival and hence raise awareness for the event. As for Billabong Sanctuary, it's actually one of the most attractive wildlife experience in Australia. The popularity of the destination will attract more animal lovers to Billabong Sanctuary, and with repeated animal shows during the day from morning to afternoon, and free return to the next day without additional charge, it will allow visitors to stay longer in Townsville. So last but not least, the consistency and contributing existing range of events. So for Townsville DNA, it's all about bringing hero experience, right? Something unique, something personal, and something you cannot get from other places. Hence, having event at Townsville can easily make it an attractive tourist destination. And hence, we are having our Great Barrier Reef Festival at Bushland Beach will be perfect due to the exposure to the local and tourists to ensure the success of the event. Like what I said, people who visit the beach for all sorts of purposes, when the festival is there, they are there and they will be attracted to the festival due to how popular and how crowded it is, right? So as for Billabong Sanctuary, the close interaction with wild animals will be the selling point, where they will be attracted to visit the Billabong Sanctuary. The kids will also learn more about the wild animals through the shows or through the park rangers, right? And they will get to hold them, get to interact with them, and most importantly, having photos taken which can keep as a souvenir and to remember for the rest of their lives. Okay, so looking at these two events that we have introduced, the tourists can take time to learn about the Great Barrier Reef and at the same time more about the wildlife animal in Australia, and at the same time they are also able to enjoy their time with friends and family while learning more about the Townsville, Queensland, Australia. Yeah, so that's all from me, and next will be the IMC campaign objective.